Dan Chisholm, BBC Wiltshire.
So keep your suggestions for the People's Playlist coming, and we'll get to the storyline of that again a little later in this hour. Now, in the recent months, we've heard from musicians who've had to reinvent the way they get their music heard. And with the lack of investment from major record companies, many have chosen to release their work directly to the fans. And some, like Dan Reid, who was with me in the studio a couple of weeks ago, have projects funded by house concerts and online campaigns supported by the people who love what they do. Well, that's great, of course, if you're a musician, but what if you make films? Well, one of the UK's top comedians is currently embracing this challenge. Andy Osho has starred on Michael McIntyre's Comedy Roadshow, Mock the Week and Live at the Apollo, where perhaps one of our listeners found herself being talked about.
I did that joke in Cheltenham and this old lady turned to her husband. She was like, Chris Brown, wasn't he the Home Secretary in 1987? Her husband was like, I think I'd remember if we had a black Home Secretary, Margaret. That would be amazing, to be a black Home Secretary. If I was black Home Secretary, well, if I was Home Secretary, obviously I'd be black, but... Think it through, Osho! No, but that would be amazing, because I would do the biggest wind-up on the Daily Mail ever. I would go straight to BBC News Studios and do a live broadcast. I would just go, good morning, viewers. As the new Home Secretary, I want to announce from now on there will be no immigration laws. That's it. The borders are now open. Tell your friends, tell your family, we have plenty of money, plenty of jobs, plenty of benefits. Come, just come, eh? And then close the borders.
Oh, brilliant. Andy, hello and welcome.
Hello.
Well, good to hear you. And a lady from Cheltenham in the heart of our very own West Country seemed to have inspired you there in that particular routine. But we speak to you this evening in Los Angeles. Now, you're making films and stuff. What's going on? You've been busy.
I have been busy, yeah. Well, I mean, that wasn't the plan when I came over here. I mean, staying this long wasn't the plan either, but I've just, I guess maybe because of what I'm in proximity to, the whole movie industry and stuff like that. So I've kind of been inspired. But I'm coming back to London to make a short film. And it's kind of like my first proper attempt at it.
We'll talk about the detail of that in just a moment, but I think there are a couple of things I need to clear up about you, because your past is really, really interesting, but it seems to fall in line with a lot of other comedians, and they are people who seem to veer off and go into acting. So, Billy Connolly, Rowan Atkinson, Hugh Laurie, Russell Brand. It's a well-trodden path. But I think the interesting thing about you is, didn't you start out as an actor before you became a comedian?
Well, yeah, that's right. I did it that way around because I actually worked in post-production. So I had like a proper grown-up job before I went even like into performing of any kind. And then about sort of 10 years into that, I was kind of like, I really have always wanted to do this. So let me give it a go. So I went to drama school, did that for a few years. And then the work started slowing down. But I'd sort of done, bits on EastEnders and stuff like that. So I had work. But then it all started slowing down. So I thought, what can I do that I'm in control of? And the thing that kept coming into my mind was stand-up. But I'm thinking, I'm terrified of stand-up. What else could I do? And nothing else came to mind. So I ended up doing that.
But, I mean, was that sort of inspired by somebody in your own family, for example, having done stand-up at some point? Because it's a bit of a toughie for somebody to take on. Because I know people who've done this, and it's not an easy job.
No, but, I never thought of it as how far it was going to go. I mean, the inspiration probably came from watching stand-ups growing up, watching Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor and Victoria Wood even. I remember just like loving her stand-up when she was performing live. And so that's where the inspiration came from. But nobody in my family was really doing it. Everyone's kind of got like pretty sort of sensible... sort of good jobs. My mum's worked for the NHS, my brother's an architect, my other brother's like a senior accountant, so I was kind of, they are funny people, but I don't think that was the reason for going into stand-up.
And what was Ma Osho's response when you said, I'm going to be a stand-up comedian?
Well, it's kind of the same as what it always is. It's kind of, okay, dear, good luck. I think she thinks that everything I do is a little bit odd, but she kind of just goes with it anyway. It doesn't all completely make sense, but I think from her point of view, she's just thinking, look, if she's happy, then I'm good. Just let her get on with it. I have to sort of navigate it by how I'm feeling. So if I feel like I'm really enjoying something, I'll keep doing it. But if I stop enjoying it, it doesn't matter how successful I've gotten or how much, reward there is, I can't keep doing it. So I think that's what maybe people might find a bit odd about the way I do things. So like I've done stand up and then I might stop for a bit and just go, I really want to make a film. So I'll do that for a little bit and then go, you know what, I really love stand up again. I'm going to do, So it hasn't got in the way, but I never feel beholden to anything to just keep going just because that's what I've done before,
What I've really enjoyed is since you've gone to Los Angeles, and you hinted a few moments ago in our conversation that you've been there longer than you intended to be, is the way that you've found life. And, it is a completely different world for those who've never been to Los Angeles before. I have the benefit of having been there. In fact, I brought the map in so as I could check out where it is. You see, I've got this theory that probably you're living in a nice flat in and around Bel Air or Beverly Hills or something. But,
yeah, let's go with that.
This is the posh part for those who don't know. But I mean, it is a huge, huge city. And how did you adapt to life when you moved there?
Yeah, it's very interesting actually because I just found it such a different rhythm, everything's different here. And just even the public transport, I'm a Londoner, born and raised. And so the fact that they don't have decent public transport to me is just like, what's going on? Like, have a word with your government or whatever, because there are buses and well, they call them metros, but tubes, but they're so infrequent and everybody else is driving. So even just that was like adapting to having to drive everywhere. And the temperature and the air quality, like I get allergies here. I've never had allergies in my life. Yeah, there's a lot to adapt to.
Have you visited many of the touristy sort of places while you're there?
Shamefully, not really. But I don't think LA's an amazing city for like tourists. Sorry, there's a garbage truck outside my house. I don't know if you can hear that. But
yeah, I could hear the thump. I didn't know what it was. I assumed it was somebody moving something in the office or something.
No, but they're almost there every day. There's all kinds of... Anyways, that's not what you want to be hearing about right now.
Hey, this is real life. It's fine.
But I haven't really... I don't think LA's an amazing city for like touristy stuff. I think it's a good stop off, like... It's all happening here, folks.
You couldn't make this up, yeah.
Exactly. It's like been dead quiet for the last like 2 hours. Then suddenly it's like, right, she's doing a radio show. Come on, lads, everyone in.
Anyway, never mind. Carry on.
Yeah, so I don't think it's a great tourist destination, but I think it's a good stop off. Like if you're going to do, because apparently the coastline and all that is really beautiful here. Again, I haven't really done that, but there's only a few places. Because even when you do those tourist bus, I did one of those early on, and I noticed that a lot of the things that they were pointing at were just normal places that someone famous worked in like 25 years ago. So it was like, oh, and this is like, Chicken Shack that Brad Pitt used to work in. It's like, well, he's not working there now, so it's just a chicken shop, So yeah, but the weather's amazing, so it's still worth it for that. But I don't think there's a huge amount of once you've seen the sign, done the Hollywood Boulevard, been down to the beach, probably best to get out of town. Go to Big Bear and Big Sur and stuff like that.
So, Andy, our show will have part 2 of that conversation in just a moment. But if you used to have a picture of David Cassidy on your wall as your heartthrob, you'll find it interesting,
They call me a rolling stone. I'm a freeborn man and I stand alone. I come looking for a little satisfaction. Rock me.
Yeah, so I wonder when you were growing up whether you had a heartthrob. Could have been an actor, could have been a pop star. I'm not sure I should admit to mine all those years ago. Because the rather bizarre thing is, although I never had her picture on my wall, I am going to meet her in a few weeks' time. So back to part 2 of my conversation with the comedian Andy Osho, who's having the time of her life in Los Angeles, but after filming for breaking Hollywood and Lights Out, well, she's now embarking on a new project. Now, the new film is somewhat unique. It taps into those teenage crushes we had on pop stars when we were young. So whether it was Donny Osmond, David Cassidy, Take That, or One Direction, the highs and lows for the dedicated girl superfans are still the same. And this has resulted in the story of a girl called Amber and her love for a band called One Summer.
I like your spread of examples there. Donny Osmond or One Direction. Yeah, no, I mean, I watched a Channel 4 documentary a while ago about One Direction fans, and I just thought it was fascinating because I thought I've sort of removed myself from it thinking, wow, these girls are cray-cray. And then I realised I was exactly like that when I was a teenager. I mean, I never got a restraining order, which one of these girls did, but, you know, there is a line you can cross, and as a teenager, I don't think you're completely aware of what that line is, because they're so intentional, and all they want to do is get some FaceTime or get near to the celebrity that they're sort of infatuated with. And I thought this would be a really interesting idea for a film. So that's kind of where the project started out.
Yeah, but you've written it. This being the big difference. This is your baby, isn't it?
That's right, yeah. Well, I mean, I sort of like mulled it around in my head because I was thinking, all right, how do you make a stalker story different? Because there's so many of them. And when I did my research, I could reel you off like 20 titles of like different stalker films. But how do you make it different? So I thought, what if you told the story from the stalker's perspective? That would definitely be different. What if it was a teenage girl? You don't see that very often. Usually it's either a sort of an adult woman or an adult man. It's very rarely a young person. And what other issues does that bring with it? So that's what's been really interesting in putting the whole thing together. And also just sort of having a look at celebrity culture itself. And just like, because as I was writing it, I was thinking, I realised in a way that the boy band and the girls are both being manipulated in a way, because One Direction, when I look at their faces, they just look exhausted and kind of jaded. And I was thinking, well, what if they were kind of sold a dream as well as the fans being sold this idea of these perfect sort of specimens that one day they might marry,
Let's just hear a little clip from what you've prepared by way of the promotional video for it.
Hi guys.
Hey fellow Summettes.
I love One Summer.
I'm One Summer's biggest fan.
They're the greatest band ever.
I am particularly in love with Charlie.
Hey guys, we're just about to go and do our sound check, so I thought I'd come online and say hi. At Amber FGZ. Hey, thanks for the link. I hadn't had a chance to read anything yet, but we love it, Amber.
It is official. If you haven't already heard, it's official. Charlie Love has quit One Summer.
And the beginning of the meltdown continues. I recognise that newsreader.
Oh, yes, possibly, yes.
Well, I mean, it's an interesting twist because, I mean, you've got all of the elements in here, One Summer, the name of the band, very close to One Direction in terms of, psychologically. It's making everybody sort of hone in on exactly what the story is likely to be about. But brilliant ideas like this require a lot of crew, a lot of time, a lot of effort, and frankly, a lot of money. So are you feeling rich?
Unfortunately not. So we had to find other ways of making it work, yeah.
And in the introduction, I hinted to what bands are doing, in order to get closer to the fans. I understand that's pretty much what you're doing with this then.
Yeah, that's right. Well, we are using a crowdfunding platform to generate funding basically for the film. And I think crowdfunding's probably been around for about sort of 5 years or so, but it's really taken off. Like just the numbers of the amounts that people are pledging, it's just increasing. Increased over the years. So we just figured we'll give it a go and just see how people respond to it.
It's the numbers game with this that is incredible, really. For those who've never made films, people like me have absolutely no concept of the the phenomenal amount of people you need, even on a basic level, to make a decent film.
Yeah, well, it's true. I mean, and the more complex the film becomes, the more people you have to have involved. I was just going through like some of our going through the script today, and I realised we need 2 cars. So that needs somebody to look after the cars. You need to make sure someone's able to drive them, make sure that they're insured for anyone that's going to be in them, So there's so many little elements to making a film that you don't think of until you're actually in the middle of it and you're like, I've just realised people need to eat, and then you have to sort of figure out catering or whatever. So, yeah, it all takes money, even the smallest project.
How long have you got before you have to finally make a decision and pulling it together?
The funding campaign ends in about a week's time. So we're really going for it this last week just to make sure we get over the line. And then the actual film, we're going to be filming on starting on the 20th of April. So we've got a 5-day shoot, including a 3-day night shoot. So we haven't got long.
For people who get involved in this sort of thing, what sort of things do you have as like the perks that go with it? Because those who invest in projects like this always seem to get perks these days.
We've got all kinds of things. I mean, you can get a walk-on role. I'll do a Skype session with people. You can get a download of the film, creepy mug with Amber's face on it. Or I'll do a voicemail message for you, like your outgoing voicemail. Like, there's so many different things because I know people have different tastes and different things that would appeal to them. So we've tried to make it like a real broad spread. I'll do doing personalized thank you videos and shout outs on Twitter and stuff like that as well. And dinner with the cast and crew is another one. Oof. So, yeah, we've got loads.
Well, it all sounds great. Anyway, we'll put the links, Andy, up on our Facebook page and on Twitter. And thanks ever so much for talking to us today. And I hope it's a great success for you and that your career continues to blossom in the superb way which it has so far. But I do have one final question which I must ask before we end tonight.
Go on then.
And that is this. How many pairs of shoes do you now own?
Shoes, my Achilles heel, or they go on my Achilles heel. I probably, not that many now.
Have you been buying more? Come on, confess. Have you been buying more since you've been in Los Angeles?
I just looked over at my shoes and they're in 2 different rooms because there's...
No!
Yeah. All right. I'm going to say like maybe 35 pairs, something like that. So I think that's like a normal amount, isn't it?
Well, it's not bad, I must say, because I thought you were going to say something like maybe 200 or whatever, But
no, I'm no Imelda Marcos. I keep it real.
Anyway, listen, Andy, great to talk to you and much success with Amber. I hope it is a great success for you. And, when you're over here sometime, maybe you'll drop by and come in and have a proper chat with us. But good to talk to you, Andy, and thanks for coming on.
You too, Dan. Thanks a lot.
Written in these walls are the stories that I can't explain.